Hello, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Courtney, and like always, I want to start by thanking my new and returning viewers for clicking on this video and spending some time with me today. I just want to start off by saying this case was most definitely one of those cases that got to me, that made me very emotional. They're all very emotional cases, but this one, I don't know, it was just one of those that hurt my heart. Like the case of Molly McLaren that I covered a few weeks ago. It just gets to me. So, keep in mind, of course, I have to try to be censored because YouTube does not like true crime channels. So, please bear with me as I try to make this as censored as possible, but still get the message across. Today we are talking about Michael Hernandez. This happened in a really good neighborhood in Miami, Florida. Michael Hernandez seemed to be this perfectly normal kid on the outside. He had a really good childhood, and he was said to be a really bright student. So Michael lived with his mother, his father, his sister, and the family dog. So it was like the all-American dream kind of family. They lived in an upper middle class neighborhood in Palmetto Bay, and Michael attended Southwood Middle School in Miami, Florida as an 8th grader, and he had two best friends, Jamie Goff and Andre Martin. It was said that Michael was known to be like the leader of their little group. He was always coming up with the best ideas to do together as a group. He was very popular with other students as well, and he was said to be very charismatic. But all of this, on the outside, nobody really knew at the time what Michael was struggling with on the inside. Michael was suffering with OCD. He did want to be in control of every aspect of his life, and he started by scheduling workouts for himself. Now, he was struggling with self-image, and he wanted to lose weight and be, in his mind, what he thought was physically fit. He wrote down his schedule because it made him feel more in control. So he went from scheduling and writing down his workout routines to becoming obsessed with planning every move he makes throughout the day in a 24-hour period. So like he would write down like when he would socialize with other people. He would write down, you know, this block is for sleeping, this block is for schoolwork, this block of time is for getting dressed and brushing my teeth. Like every little move that he made, he wanted to write it down because it made him feel in control. Michael would also color coordinate his closet, which is not like a bad thing to do. I wish I had the will, I guess, to do that, but it's not a bad thing to color coordinate your closet. This is just something that he did that I wanted to talk about. So he would color coordinate his closet. All of his shirts would be like an ombre of the rainbow kind of thing. He just wanted everything in his life to be his version of perfect. Now, his parents did start to pick up on his behavior. And his mother said that, yes, she did notice that he started to have obsessive types of behavior. He would also do like very repetitive things, like he would open and close the garage door over and over and over and over and over again. And he would also take knives in the kitchen and point them all like a certain way. So his mother schedules him an appointment with a psychologist, but Michael ends up never going. And his mother just starts to brush off his behavior and consider it like normal adolescent, quirky but normal behavior. But Michael then starts to become depressed. But one thing that he did have a major interest in, and what brought him a lot of joy, was serial. It didn't matter if the serial killer was fiction or nonfiction, Michael loved it. So he would do really intense research on these serial killers, which, I mean, I can't say anything about because, I mean, here we are, a true crime channel. So it's not abnormal. I don't think it's abnormal to research these types of things and be interested in, like, the psychological aspect of it. But he was interested, not so much the psychological aspect of it, but the actual murder itself. He would read books about these serial killers. He would watch movies about them, documentaries, constantly just doing all of this research and keeping journals about it. And it seemed like his all-time favorite serial killer was a fictional character in the movie Silence of the Lambs. He loved Buffalo Bill from that movie. He sees how much control and power this character has in the movie, and this draws him in further because he wants all of this power and control in his own life, not only over himself, but over other people as well. So Michael wants to be just like this guy in the movie. Now remember, I mean, I know it seems we might be talking about like a 30-year-old or older, but this kid is in 8th grade. He's 13 years old at this time. So, I mean, he's just a baby. He started to isolate himself a lot in his room, doing all of this research and watching the movies and reading the books and all of that stuff. So his personality started to drastically change, and he even started to look up real crime scene photos on the internet, and he would find them, and then he would like bring them up at school and talk to his friends about how he thought it was so cool. Of course, I mean, his friends did not feel the same about this newfound interest of his, but they're like 13 and 14 years old. They are not thinking that they need to go tell somebody, you know. They're thinking that, you know, he's just fascinated with this for a while, he'll get over it. But one day at a football game that was held at the school, Michael and his friends are sitting in the crowd watching the game when a fellow student makes some kind of joke towards Michael. I don't think it was anything too bad, too crazy, but it just kind of set Michael off, and he did not like the joke that this student made towards him. What nobody else knew is that Michael had a screwdriver in his pocket that day, and Michael just burst into this fit of rage and he attacks the student with a screwdriver. So thankfully Michael was ripped away from the attack because this was in a crowd of people, so there were a lot of people able to react very quickly to this. And I couldn't find any information on who the kid was, the kid's name, his relationship with Michael, if the kid even got hurt, like severely. I'm sure he did get hurt. He was attacked with a screwdriver, but I didn't see anything like reports about it. So in that case, I'm going to assume that he didn't really get hurt that bad. It was probably just a non-life-threatening wound. After this, Michael's behavior just gets worse and worse. He comes to school one day and tells his friend Andre that he has been self-harming. And when Andre asked him, why would you do that to yourself, Michael says, I like to feel the pain. So after a while of doing this and harming himself, he is ready to take it to the next level and harm others. So Michael tells his father that he is interested in knives. He wants to start a knife collection. And his father says, okay, that's great. I'm going to buy you a bunch of knives. Now, I am not blaming the parents, or in this case, you know, the father. I'm not blaming the father, but I'm just saying that that probably wasn't the best idea. The next day, Michael brings in one of the knives to school to show his friends, and bringing the knife to school was said to like make him feel like he was in control, which is what he wanted. So that particular day, he doesn't do anything with the knives. He just shows his friends like, oh, look, like I'm not supposed to be doing this, but I am anyway. Look what I got. Now back at home, Michael has a journal, and he is writing out the steps of his first murder in this journal. His end goal was to become a serial killer like Buffalo Bill in the movie Silence of the Lambs. So from what I've read, and from what Michael must have known as well, to be classified as a serial killer, you need to murder 3 people in 3 different settings. So you can't just kill 1 person or 2 people and be classified as a serial killer. You have to kill 3 or more in 3 different settings. So Michael takes his journal and starts a hit list of 3 people. The 3 people are his 2 friends, Andre and Jamie, and the 3rd person was his own sister. It was said he chose these people because these were the people that were closest to him, and they would be easy targets because they're his friends or his family and they trust him. These 3 innocent people would give Michael the title that he ultimately thrives to obtain, and that is being a serial killer. For his friends, he plans to lure them into the bathroom at school and attack them there. He knows from all of his research that he needs to be careful with what he's doing. He cannot leave any evidence. He can't get evidence on himself. So he gets up for school one day. He puts on a windbreaker over his clothes, which is something that he never ever wore. He brings a baseball cap in with him. And he also has latex gloves in his pocket as well. So on February 2nd, 2004, it is Michael's 14th birthday. So he thinks this is the perfect day to commit his first murder. So when he gets to school, his friends notice his windbreaker, and they know that this is something he's never worn before. So they do take note of it, and they think it's a little odd, but they don't put too much thought into it. He tells his friends, Andre and Jamie, that he has something really cool to show them. So he takes them to the boys' restroom. on the second floor of the school. And once they get there, of course there was nobody else in the restroom except for the 3 boys, so he went to the far end of the restroom and he pulled out the baseball cap that he had in his pocket of the windbreaker and he puts it on. And he turns around and he tells Andre, "Come here, I want to show you something." And Andre is a little like, why do you want to show me? And Michael says, "You have to come into the stall." Andre was very leery. He was kind of thinking back to all of the changes that he's seen in Michael in the past several months, all of the talk about serial killers and crime scene photos, and he's very, very leery to go into this stall alone with Michael. So he's kind of saying like, "No, I don't want to." Well, Jamie speaks up and he says, "Well, I'll do it. I want to see. I'll go see." Just as Jamie is about to enter the stall with Michael, the tardy bell rings and the boys know they need to leave and get to class. So Andre and Jamie leave and Michael says to them, "Come back here the same time tomorrow. It's going to be a special day." The next day comes and Michael comes to school again with the ball cap and the windbreaker and the latex gloves. He's in the restroom waiting for the boys. The same restroom on the second floor of the school. Nobody else is in there. So he's waiting and eventually he hears the door open and in comes Jamie. Andre was not there with him because Andre was a part of some kind of school club and they were having a little meeting that morning before class started about, I don't know, about what they needed to do next in their school club. So Andre actually completely forgot about meeting Michael in the restroom again the following day. He just brushed it off, didn't put any thought into it. He just knew he needed to be at this meeting for his school club. So it's just Michael and Jamie. Michael gets tired of waiting for Andre to come, so he tells Jamie, "Okay, forget Andre, come over here into the stall. I've got something really cool to show you." Michael told Jamie they needed to hide together in the stall to show him. So once Jamie and Michael are in the stall, Michael reaches into his backpack and puts on latex gloves. And this sweet, innocent, naive, beautiful little boy, Jamie, he asks what those are for. And Michael responds that he just likes the way that they feel on his hands. He then tells Jamie to turn around with his back towards him, and Jamie agrees. He probably thought this was kind of like a close your eyes and don't look until I tell you to kind of thing. Michael says it's all part of the surprise, just turn around. Michael then pulls out a knife that he had in a hidden compartment of his backpack, quickly grabs Jamie's head and cuts his throat. Jamie turned around and told Michael to please not kill him, and Michael said to Jamie that if you cooperate that he won't. But of course this was a lie, and Michael proceeds to stab Jamie 41 times. Michael said he made sure Jamie was no longer alive by poking him in the face and checking his eyes, and he saw that he was just completely motionless, so he knew. Michael flushes the latex gloves down the toilet, he washes his hands, he shoves the blood-covered windbreaker in his backpack, and he goes to class. He's acting completely normal, like nothing happened. But what Michael didn't realize is he had a little spot of blood on his white t-shirt that he was wearing under the windbreaker. Once he's in class, Michael's teacher notices his shirt and asks him what happened, and Michael says that he ran into the side of a door and he hurt himself. So I think Michael's teacher was a little suspicious, but I don't think she was thinking anything along the lines of what had actually just happened. It did not take long at all before Jamie's body was found by other students who were going to the restroom. Can you imagine being like 13 years old, being in school, thinking it's a normal day, you go to the restroom and you find this horrendous crime scene, and it's one of your fellow students laying on the ground. The principal then made an announcement over the speakers saying that the school was on lockdown, and I'm sure nobody, aside from the students that found Jamie and Michael, really knew what was going on. Of course, 911 was called and police quickly arrived to the school. Now, Michael's teacher pointed him out to police and he was taken from class and interrogated. At first, he lies, saying that it was somebody else who did it. He knew who had killed Jamie, but it wasn't him. But after a few hours of interrogation, Michael breaks down and he starts to confess. And I mean, he tells every little minor detail. And the interrogation video was so extremely chilling to watch because Michael was so just cool and calm and collected and acting like nothing really happened. Detectives then get a warrant to search Michael's home, and that's where they find the journal that he wrote all of the details of his plan, and they found the hit list where he had 2 other people that he was going to target as well. During the interrogation, the detective asks Michael, "Do you know the difference between right and wrong?" And Michael says, "Yes, I do." And the detective says, "Do you think what you did was wrong?" And Michael says, "I don't think what I did was right, but I don't think it was wrong either." And finally, the detective says, "Are you sorry for what happened to Jamie?" Michael says, "No, I'm not." He acted like the interrogation was like an interview and he was a famous person. And he was so proud, and he answered each and every question with so much pride and confidence. Michael went to trial where he was, of course, found guilty of first-degree murder and was sentenced to life in prison. Now, 17 years later, in 2021, so just last year, Michael Hernandez was found dead in his prison cell. And after an autopsy, it was reported that Michael passed away from, and this is a direct quote, "cardiac dysrhythmia attributed to morbid obesity." And this is so ironic because, remember, early in the case, I discussed that he was so obsessed with working out and becoming physically fit, and he passed away from heart problems due to morbid obesity. Michael Hernandez was 31 years old when he passed away. And as for Andre Martin, which was the friend of Michael's from school that was supposed to meet up with him and Jamie in the stall that morning, but he forgot and went to his club meeting, today he's actually a police officer. And Andre says in an interview that he was very inspired by how the police handled the situation at the school that day and how they treated him with so much patience and respect. And that is the case of Michael Hernandez. These cases blow my mind when such a young child can be so evil and can do something like this to another just sweet, innocent, especially a friend. Have you heard about this case? If so, please let me know down in the comments. If not, let me know just what you thought about it overall. If it gets to you like it gets to me. That is all I have for you guys this week. Please leave your thoughts in the comments below. Stay safe, and I will see you next week. Bye!